So today we're going to be talking about 10 tactics a narcissist will use to mask their insecurities. So narcissists are those people in society who generally feel like they have a right to exploit other people. They lack empathy. They have the ability to be empathic and to show empathy, but they don't. They don't have the same emotional response that a healthy person would. A person that does have empathy, a person that is interested in connecting with another person. So if you have genuine compassion for humanity, if you have the desire to connect with people on a heart level, then you will experience a true emotional response when you know someone is hurting. And you will experience guilt and remorse when you know that there's something that you've done or haven't done or said or didn't say that caused someone else to feel bad. You'll have an actual emotional response, a guilt response to that experience. So you are able to feel what someone else feels, and that helps you regulate your behavior moving forward. If you're a parent who knows that you were feeling tired and you were short with your child and you said something that you know hurt them, in retrospect, when you've had time to calm down, you think about what you've said, you know that you've hurt your child. And you have a true emotional response to this idea that your child has been hurt because of something that you've said. You feel remorse, you feel guilt, and that helps you change your behavior in the future, perhaps helps you to feel more patient or drives you to become more patient with your child. In addition, it will also motivate you to apologize, to make amends, to show your child that you are truly remorseful and that you feel guilty for being so cross with them or ill-tempered with them. And that's a beautiful thing. When it comes to sociopaths and psychopaths, for instance, they don't have this type of remorse and or guilt. A narcissist does not have compassion for you. So if a narcissist says something to hurt you and they exploit you, the narcissist is not going to have a compassion-filled response, which is why it is so important that if you have been in a relationship with a narcissist, if you have been raised by a narcissist, if you have been raised by a parent that has no remorse, a parent that shows no guilt, a parent that lacks empathy, a parent that exploits you, there are things that you need to understand in order for you to recover and to live the life that you deserve to live. There are tactics that predator-type personalities use to mask certain character traits. And what's really insidious about narcissism, if you've been lured in by a narcissist, is that it's not going to be easy to spot, and in most cases, and your own mind will be used against you. One of the things that I absolutely have zero tolerance for, and that's because I was abused this way in the past, and sadly by my mom, as well as my ex, was when I shared a vulnerability with them, they used it against me like a weapon. They weaponized a wound against me. So it was like double crippling to have someone I thought that should care about something that I shared, like hold it near your chest, right? And protect it and never exploit it, but share this space with me. Help me move past this wound, help me forgive myself, but certainly never use it against me. Someone who is high on the narcissistic spectrum will use your wounds against you. So it's important that you remember that narcissists are emotionally exploitive. If you feel like your emotions are being toyed with, if you feel like you're being psychologically abused, mentally abused, attacked even, then you are. If you have trusted someone and they have used your wounds against you, this is an indicator that you're dealing with someone who lacks empathy for you, doesn't have compassion for you, is exploitive, and is willing to disregard you and to abuse you on the deepest, most wounded level of your soul. Healthy people don't do this. And you really have to be able to ground yourself in reality when considering whether or not you are being abused in this way. What happens to a lot of people who have been raised by psychopaths, sociopaths, and or narcissists, there is a difference between all three. But when you've been raised by these types of personalities who are compassionless, lack remorse, lack guilt, or socially immoral, disregard the law. When you've been raised by someone who has these types of personality traits, when you've been raised by someone who exploits you emotionally, part of that becomes you thinking that you brought this abuse on. That's what happens in a trauma bond. You are lured in by a charismatic, what seems to be confident person. It's alluring. You're lured in and you're love bombed and you are validated in a way that you've never been validated before. The narcissist will mirror back what you need, mirror back what you feel, and you will feel like the heavens have opened up. And you don't know that the narcissist is faking it, that the narcissist is exploiting you through the idealization phase. You won't even know it. And when you are hooked really good, a narcissist will begin to insult you. The narcissist will begin to play with your head. And because of the trauma bond, you don't recognize this as abusive. You have been really taught that this could never be, that the person that lured you in was so amazing, that you experience cognitive dissonance. It just can't be that this person has lied to you from day one, that this person has faked empathy from day one, that this person has spent hours on the phone talking to you, trying to figure out what hurts you the most. And they have morphed themselves into the person that they know you need them to be in order for them to exploit you for their own good. And whatever it is that they need, the narcissist, because they lack compassion for you, they lack empathy for you, they don't experience remorse and guilt like healthy people do. They will abuse you and take from you what it is they need. You will have such cognitive dissonance that your own mind, it's like your own mind has been tricked into working against itself. So you can't ground yourself in reality because your mind is saying this just can't be true. In addition to that, you have been brainwashed to think that it's your fault that there's turbulence in the relationship. How dare you confront or challenge a narcissist? How dare you suggest that they are a narcissist? How dare you suggest that they're being manipulative or that they're causing chaos unnecessarily or they're making up stories? How dare you? And because your mind has been slowly seeded with these ideas that there's something wrong with you after, of course, they've told you that you're awesome, right? And now you're afraid to lose this amazing relationship, this person who has become like a god to you. You're terrified. And in addition to being terrified, you think that it's your fault that there's turbulence in the relationship. It's really horrible to think that there are people out there that live this way and need to dominate and maintain control over other people in order to feel in control of their own selves. It's very uncomfortable to imagine that you could fall prey to that. And I hear it all the time. So many of my clients will say, like, I can't believe this happened to me. Like, I was so stupid. How could I not know she was lying to me? How could I not know he was lying to me? How could I not recognize that he had no empathy for me, or that he was so callous, he was so aloof? He disregarded my family. He disregarded me. He was always making up stories. He wanted me to feel jealous. I swear he was making things up. He wanted me to fight with my sister. He wanted me to fight with my best friend. How could I not have seen it? If you are a kind, empathic, considerate, compassionate person, you are very likely able to fall for a narcissist. And that's because you are so compassionate. It is because you are so empathic. It is because you are so kind, and you are so considerate, and you are so fair. Because while your partner that you love has first idealized you, right? Put you on a pedestal, made you feel like they are your everything, taught you that you should be able to believe in them. When these potholes in the relationship show up because you're so compassionate and fair-minded, and because you genuinely care about this person, but here's the caveat, you cared about the person they tricked you into believing they were. You don't know this person, the true narcissist. You don't know this person. You would not have married this person if you would have known that they lacked this much empathy, that they were this capable of being so callous and so unkind and exploitive. You would not have married that person. You would not have dated that person. You would have been gone. And so it's important that you remember that. When you start looking back at your life and thinking, how could I have not seen this? You did not see this person. You saw the person that they wanted you to believe that they were. And they also made sure that your family, your friends, society, people at work saw this person, person A, the mask, if you will, the false self. And so try to remember that on the road to recovery, like you did not fall in love with who this person really is. You fell in love with an illusion. You fell in love with the false self, and that's not your fault. And anybody and everybody who has compassion, who is empathic, who is kind, who has light in their body, anybody who genuinely wants to care about another person can be targeted by a narcissist, a psychopath, or a sociopath, or an antisocial personality. You absolutely can, because in your heart, you can see that this person is struggling to get along with people, perhaps, or they're struggling to hold down a job, or they have some sob story. And you can see that they're hurting in some cases, and you want to help them. You have a desire to have people feel good about themselves. I had a situation like that just this morning with myself, where I had to hold myself back from trying to rescue and fix someone. I had to just let it be, because it could have been a very slippery slope for someone like me to get involved with someone who really isn't interested in wanting to fix anything that's wrong in their life. So that's something that you need to know. So if you have compassion, If you have empathy, yes, you can be a target for someone who doesn't. And so that's not your fault. But it is uncomfortable to realize that you could be with someone who turns out to be like a Dr. Jekyll and a Mr. Hyde. Your mind does not want to accept that. And at the same time, you've been gaslighted to the point where you doubt your perceptions. There is tremendous fear in facing the reality of the situation. Like, I remember going through this myself. Like, I remember saying to myself, if you go there, there's no turning back. Like, if you come out of denial, if you start to really accept how you feel in this relationship that was, over like 12 years, 3 children, if you start to really accept the way you've been gaslit, the way that you've been devalued, the way that you've been projected upon, if you go there, if you face the idea that the person that you're married has multiple personalities, like, I don't mean he had multiple personality disorder. I used to say to my ex that it felt like I was living with someone who had 100 suit jackets in the closet, and depending on who he was talking to, that was what decided what suit jacket he would wear. Whatever the person that he was dealing with needed him to be, he took on that persona. And it was crazy making because behind closed doors, my kids and I were dealing with the grumpy personality, the negative personality, the condescending, critical, aloof, passive-aggressive, discarding personality. That's what we were dealing with. But we knew that no one else could see what we saw. And so it was crazy making. And that was all part of it also, because you doubt that the perception that you have of this person is actually valid. So my heart goes out to anybody and everybody who was raised by this type of a personality, which I was. Really terrible. And if you married this type of a personality, if you work for this type of a personality, you have to know that what's being exploited is your compassion and is your empathy. And these are traits that they hope, obviously, that you're never going to figure out, because a narcissist actually needs someone who can have empathy for them. Otherwise, the relationship doesn't work. A narcissist doesn't want to be with a narcissist. A narcissist needs someone who has an emotional reaction to them, who has empathy towards them. They need that. And that's why I think it's really interesting, that you'll notice that if you know a narcissist, they will complain about another narcissist. That person's conceited. That person's full of himself. That person should shut up. That person's full of hot air. That person thinks he's all that. She thinks she's all that. She thinks she's perfect. She's a know-it-all. It's very interesting that narcissists that we know will take issues with other narcissists. And so that's just something to be aware of. I always found that fascinating. I see that in my dad now. So when my dad complains about certain people, I look at him and I go, that's interesting, because those qualities are what you possess. You just don't see it. And you have no interest in changing. That's a big marker of narcissism, when you're dealing with someone who just has no intentions of changing. Their narcissistic traits work for them. They have surrounded themselves with compassionate people. My sister, for instance, has so much compassion for my father. And that's why he's able to exploit her the way he does, because of her kindness and because of her empathy. And narcissists do not want to live with other narcissists. They do not want to live with people who will put them in their place or do not have emotional responses to their woe is me stories. Nor do they want to live with someone who has realized that they have been abused, someone who is intuitive, someone who is introspective, somebody who has figured out this narcissist has abused them and lied to them. You cross that type of a person, like myself, who figures it out, and I'm done with you. I'm absolutely done with you. I will go shutty. I will go no contact. I see you for what you are. I will never hurt you. I will never go after you. I will not be vindictive, but I will literally have nothing to do with you. And the compassion that I once had for you will be eliminated. It won't go on forever. Once someone like me sees this in someone else, it's done. I see this trait in my son, and I'm so grateful that he has it. And so narcissists will exploit you until you come to a place where you're able to ground yourself in reality, that this is really happening, that you really are this unhappy, your body really does feel this sick, you really have been this emotionally exploited. This person really does not care about your feelings, about your emotions, about your thoughts, about your dreams, and about your needs. Absolutely not. And part of the reason I have so much passion for this type of work is because I saw what narcissism can do to someone after 50 years. I watched my mom just decline day after day, and how she just developed learned helplessness, and she just realized that there was no way out, at least in her head, that there was just no way out. This is the way it was going to be with my father, and it was just easier not to react, and it was just easy to be an amoeba and to ebb and flow in whatever direction he blew, and to just follow him and to just acquiesce. And even when he was yelling and screaming at her, my mother never fought back. She had put up with so much narcissistic abuse that she just lost her will to fight him back. And that happens every single day. And it happens in homes that look perfect. It happens in homes of doctors and lawyers. It happens in homes of women who are police officers. I've coached them myself. This happens in the homes of athletes. This happens in the homes of actors and actresses. I've coached them myself. And so anybody out there who thinks that this type of abuse just happens to one type of a person, you're wrong. This can happen to anyone. If you are a kind, compassionate person, if you have empathy for other people, it can happen to you. Because narcissists are exploitive, and we need to know that. And so grounding yourself in reality is really painful, because it means that you have to come face to face with the cognitive dissonance. You've got to learn to sit in how this really feels. You've got to face the trauma bond. You've got to face whatever codependent belief systems have been exploited on behalf of the narcissist. This is tough work. This is really tough work. It's not easy, but it can be done, and it must be done. It must be done, because narcissism, in my opinion, is an egoic experience. And so if we're talking about the spiritual aspect of narcissism, we're dealing with someone who is in the darkness, and they are living through the pain body, as Eckhart Tolle will say. And they are living through the ego. They are not living through higher consciousness. And they will project all of their wounds out into society and hold people responsible for them. And they will play people like instruments in order to hide their insecurities. So let's talk about 10 of those ways that a narcissist will hide their insecurities. So narcissists devalue others in an attempt to maintain this air of superiority. So that's the agenda, right? So when you're dealing with a narcissist, they have all of these flaws and all of these insecurities. Although there are some studies out there that suggest that there are narcissists, especially narcissists who have been overindulged as children, that really do think they're pretty awesome and really do think that you're a minion, and they really do think that you're beneath them. And it's not because of some serious childhood trauma. It may have been because they were overindulged as children, they were overpraised, and the praise wasn't balanced. In other words, like, you can't be awesome at everything, right? So a parent that overindulges their child maybe a parent who's a narcissist themselves, overindulges their child, uses their child like as an extension of themselves, wants their child to feel good about themselves and superior about themselves, is actually grooming the child for a sense of entitlement. And so there are narcissists out there that don't feel insecure, that really do think that they're better than everyone else. There are narcissists who may not be in touch with this idea that being over-idealized as a child and over-appreciated as a child and not having a fair assessment or an analysis of their child, like a mother who doesn't put their child in their place, a mother who doesn't correct their child for lying, a mother who doesn't correct their child for cutting school, a mother who encourages their child to steal, to take advantage of other people, a mother who encourages their child to believe that other people are jealous of them, a mother who encourages their child to believe that they're a great football player when in fact they are not. You know, if you praise a child and this child has no evidence, physical evidence that they're actually good at something, you're going to cripple that child because that child on some level knows that they're not a good football player. Have you ever seen these reality shows where they have singing contests and people go out on stage and they have a mother in the background clapping her hands, yay, 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 and the kid can't sing for nothing. But mom is like, isn't she great? What are you talking about, mom? The kid can't sing. What are you doing? What are you doing? This poor child has just humiliated themselves, right? And now has been rejected. And now doesn't think they need singing lessons. No, they think that the judges are wrong or that the audience members are wrong, right? So there's this altered state of reality. They're out of touch with reality. There's this sense of grandiosity that is not tied to anything that's actually real. And this happens. And so it is never good to overpraise a child and not balance it off with reality, right? So that we harm our children when we don't balance them, when we don't correct them, when we don't praise them and balance that praise off with boundaries or discipline, you know, letting the child know, hey, that's not acceptable. You know, we don't do that in this family. We don't push, we don't punch, we don't fight, we don't use that language. And if you continue to do that, there's going to be a consequence, right? You have to help Junior understand that he must be accountable for his actions. And they should care, children should care about how what they do affects other people. Not to the extent where a child no longer cares about how they're affected. I'm talking about balance. So this idea is that narcissists need to devalue you in order to feel better about themselves. So let's talk about those 10 traits that a narcissist will do. So the first thing is they'll start arguments. So if you've loved a narcissist, undoubtedly you've had situations in which out of the blue, you were accused of something you didn't do. Out of the blue, something gets said and now you're up all hours of the night rehashing this conversation, tears are flowing, you're banging your head up against your pillow, you think you've said everything you've needed to say 10 different times, the narcissist is not having it. So the narcissist will cause arguments with you to keep you dazed. You don't know that the narcissist is wired to not hear you. So they are exhausting you. You get to a point where you want to cry uncle, like, okay, you win. Whatever you say, yeah, I said that, yep, okay. This is sort of what I think my mom went through, and this is why I think that she eventually developed just learned helplessness and she just couldn't fight back anymore. And so a narcissist will start arguments with you and accuse you of things that you're not guilty of as a way to mask their own insecurities. Number two, they'll mock your intelligence. They'll mock you, they'll mock the way you think, they'll mock what comes out of your mouth. They'll make you think that they think you're as dumb as wood. And it'll be confusing to you because the narcissist that you first met thought you were super intelligent, complimented you, thought you were awesome. And so one of the traits that they'll use is that they'll actually mock your intelligence. So now that you're doubting the way that you think, you're doubting your perceptions. And mixed with all of this is the fear of losing the narcissist's validation and rejection. And then mixed with that is feeling responsible for why they're rejecting you and why they're devaluing you. The third thing that they'll do is they'll put down your career choice. And so even though when you met a narcissist, they may have praised you for, whatever job that you have, they thought it was amazing. They wanted to know everything about your career. They wanted to go and meet you for lunch. They bragged about what you did for a living to their family, their friends, or whatever. They made a big deal out of whatever you did for a living. But before long, they'll start to devalue it. They'll start to mock it. Is this all you can do with your life? Why did you pick this career choice anyway? And so they'll start, again, it's about seeding these ideas into your head that there's something wrong with your career choice, hence something wrong with you. Below the veil, the narcissist might be jealous of you because you have this career choice. They might be jealous that you have this stability. They might be jealous that you have job security, that you have a great pension, that you have a 401k plan, that you have friends at work. But to mask their insecurity, they'll mock your career choice. The fourth thing that they'll do is they'll begin isolating you. You won't see it at first. At first, the narcissist will be so happy that you have children and maybe even grandchildren. At first, the narcissist will be so happy that you have a mom and a dad, or you have sisters and brothers and friends. They'll be so happy. But before long, what you'll notice is the narcissist doesn't want to hang out with your family, or the narcissist begins to make up stories about your family. Or the narcissist will say, I don't think that they like me. Or the narcissist will suggest that you should get up and move. They may even lie about a job opportunity across the country. But the sense that you'll get is the narcissist is beginning to isolate you from the people that you love and from aspects of your life that afforded you stability and security. Another thing that a narcissist will do to hide their insecurities is that they will stonewall you and use the silent treatment against you. This is to frustrate you. And so can you solve a problem with someone who's walking around the house ignoring you? Can you solve a problem with someone who refuses to answer the phone? Can you solve a problem with someone who ghosts you? Now remember, when you're involved with a narcissist, it's about exploiting you emotionally. So the stonewalling and the projections and the silent treatment is all about exploiting you on an emotional level. It's to get you riled up. It's to get you into a fear response. It's to punish you. It's to push you into a state of fear. And so one of the things that you might want to think about is that when someone stonewalls you, and this is how far I've come, but if you don't want to talk to me to resolve a problem, I'm done with you. And so I am more than willing to meet you halfway. But if I have to chase you to discuss a problem, and I get the feeling that you're stonewalling me, and you're blocking emails, like you can shoot off emails to me and tell me I'm the worst person in the world, but I can't respond. Or you can call me and leave terrible voicemails on my voicemail, but you block my number. Or you can suggest that we have an issue, send me a nasty text, and then you don't text me back for days, you ghost me. I'm done. I'm done. I'm willing to negotiate. But if you're dealing with someone who consistently riles you up, is accusatory, blames you for things that you know that you're not guilty of, is causing arguments, and when you try to resolve an issue with that person, they stonewall you, this person is not showing up the way you are, and you are wasting your time. Healthy people do not respond this way. Someone who is stonewalling you and giving you the silent treatment is trying to exploit you emotionally. That's their goal. Don't let them do it. Number 6, sometimes the narcissist, and lots of times, will force you to do things that you might not want to do. This could be a sexual act. This could be going somewhere that you feel uncomfortable. This might be lying to someone or lying for them. So a narcissist masks their insecurities just in life by wanting to maintain power and control over you, and they do this by exploiting you emotionally and forcing you to feel like you owe it to them to do something that's outside your comfort zone. Healthy people respect your boundaries. So anytime, and I mean anytime, that someone is trying to force you to do something, lie for them, do something with them, do something to them, do something with them and someone else, and your boundaries are not being listened to, you're being exploited. You have the right to say no. And you have to ask yourself, observe yourself. Do you find yourself worrying more about that person's response to your no? Listen to what I said. Do you find yourself in that situation worrying more about the response this person has to your no? That's a dysfunctional thought. What you should be worried about is this idea that you're with someone who is forcing you, guilting you, bullying you, and trying to manipulate you, trying to make you feel bad and feel guilty and responsible for doing something that goes against your will, doing something that is outside your comfort zone. What you should be focusing on, and I hope that this flip happens in your mind, what you should be focusing on is that you're dealing with someone who is exploiting your boundary and who on top of it is trying to make you feel guilty for having a boundary. They're not hearing you, dear one. They're not listening to you. What you need to pay attention to is how that makes you feel to be with that type of an exploitive personality. Number 7. So they begin to make up stories about your family and friends. When you take a giant step back and you look at your relationship with someone that you believe is a narcissist, ask yourself if you believe that this person made up stories about the people that you loved. A narcissist has to, they're like acid. They have to pour acid in between the connections that you have and the bonds that you have with other people. So to maintain power and control over you, to mask an insecurity, a narcissist has to find a way to separate you from your family and friends. And one of the ways that they do that is they lie about your family and friends. They lie. They say, oh, I saw the way your mother was looking at me over dinner. Or I heard that your father said something about me at the barber shop. A lie. Or, your sister made advances towards me, A lie. And so a narcissist, it's not beyond a narcissist. Remember, their goal is to exploit you emotionally. It is not beyond a narcissist to make up a lie about your family so that you are put in a position where you have to make a choice. Is it my family or is it the narcissist? Now remember, the trauma bonding is real. The narcissist had pulled you in. They have idealized you. They're gaslighting you. They're blame shifting. They're projecting. Right? They're making you feel responsible for their instability. It's your fault, right? You have cognitive dissonance now. How do you confront what is happening inside of you when at the same time you feel responsible for what's happening and you're afraid that this narcissist is going to leave you, who has positioned themselves as your God, as your savior? Not easy stuff. And this might take you a while to process, but you can do it. You can do it. Just don't rush the process. And so, number 8, a narcissist will stay calm while they project all of their flaws onto you. Have you ever been in a situation where you're being gaslit by a narcissist? They are twisting the truth. They are lying. They are discarding you, devaluing you. They are marginalizing you. They are mocking you. And you're having a natural emotional response to this type of emotional abuse. And they're cool as a cucumber. They're doing this so that they can turn around and say, look at you, look how crazy you are. I'm fine, there's nothing wrong with me. You need therapy. This is why your mother doesn't like you. This is why you have no friends. This is why. See, you're unstable. It's not me. I'm calm, but look at you. Why can't you have a calm conversation? Why are you overreacting? Why are you doing this? Why are you driving yourself crazy? This is you. You don't have to act like this. No, this is your choice. You're responding this way because it's a choice. You're out of control. So a narcissist will come off cool to exploit you. So they'll gaslight you. They'll pour gasoline on you. They'll light the match, right? And they'll stand there and act like they didn't do a damn thing. And so upon reflection on the healing process and on the healing journey, this is something that you might notice. This might be a trait that you notice in hindsight was actually happening to you. Number 9, they compare you to other people. So again, when you first meet a narcissist, you are the cat's meow. They only have eyes for you. You're the most handsome man. You're the most beautiful woman. They literally feel like they're falling over themselves for you. At least that's the way they make you feel. But eventually, what you might notice is to exploit you is they start to compare you to other people. Really weird. In my situation, my ex-husband used to compare me to my mom. Think about that. My mom was a bobblehead, right? She was like those little toys on the dashboard of a car, you know, where their heads bobble. That was my mother. Yes, yes, yes. Whatever my father said. Yes, yes, yes. My ex-husband loved that. He thought that was what every woman should be. That a woman should honor her husband, never question her husband. He would throw the Bible at me, or the Bible quotes at me. And so when it comes to this trait in a narcissist, do not be surprised that compare you to other people. They might say, well, Johnny's wife down the block is okay with going to a massage parlor and, you know, having things done. Why aren't you? So they'll compare you to the friend that you know whose wife is not having a very strong reaction to some sort of crossing of the line. Or if Mary around the corner forgave her husband for having 3 affairs, why aren't you forgiving me? Or the lady down the block, you know, dresses in those types of clothes, why aren't you dressing like that? Or so-and-so's girlfriend is willing to do that sexual thing in bed, why don't you do that? Or that person has that job, why can't you get that job? Whatever it is, what you'll notice is that there's going to be some comparison shopping getting done in your relationship. And this is to mask their insecurity and mask it through devaluing you. And this is one of the ways that they'll do it. Number 10 is they'll begin gaslighting you into thinking you're responsible for why they pull away. This is really painful because when you fall in love with someone that you think is real, you never expect that person to disappear. You expect that Johnny is going to remain Johnny, or Susie is always going to be Susie. You just expect that the person that you fell in love with is going to consistently be that person. So you will be gaslit, and part of that gaslighting will involve, obviously, making you doubt your reality, making you doubt the context of the actual situation. And especially when a narcissist feels like they're losing ground with you, they will convince you that you are the reason that they're angry. You're the reason that this thing went kaput. You are the reason that they are leaving. And so they're discarding you, and you are the reason. So you feel all sorts of remorseful, all sorts of guilty, super, 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 super over-responsible. You feel ashamed. You feel lost. You feel abandoned. You have all of these negative emotions happening inside of you, which is actually what the narcissist wants. The goal is to emotionally exploit you, emotionally cripple you, so that the narcissist can maintain control over you. Narcissistic relationships are not fun. And narcissism is on the rise. And I'm so thankful that there are so many ways to become more knowledgeable about narcissism, because it's a way that you can get out ahead of these types of personalities and learn what you need to learn so that you can avoid them in the future. Most of us who are now knowledgeable, or I shouldn't say most of us, but many of us who are knowledgeable about these types of relationships have been raised by narcissists, as it is in my case, and have married narcissists. and have learned the hard way about the devastation that can occur when a narcissist walks into your life. And so I hope that this content has proven helpful. I hope that you've received some nuggets of wisdom from it. And I hope that you feel more empowered to move forward in life with a little bit more information that will help you get ahead of this type of behavior so that you don't fall prey to a narcissist the next time. Namaste, everybody. My name is Lisa Romano. I am the Breakthrough Life Coach and Best-Selling Author. And if you'd like to listen to one of my books for free, all you have to do is look in the description box and click the link below. And if you are interested in learning how you can heal from codependency and get a hold of those codependent programs that are keeping you stuck so you don't have to attract narcissists anymore, so that you can get ahead of narcissistic relationships and not fall prey to them, check out the 12-week Breakthrough Coaching Program. I have links in the description box. And if you'd like to learn about my Breakthrough Warrior membership site, where you have a live Q&A with me every month, you can go to www.lisaaromano.com. Namaste, everybody, as I bow to the love and the light that is absolutely in you. And please, when you're out and about, never forget to think. Bye for now. If you love this content, check out the next video. And don't forget to click the link below so you can take the codependency quiz. You know, narcissists don't care about boundaries. They annihilate your boundaries. So you have to understand that they're going to say and do things and behave in ways that bring you drama.